want to make sure I quickly cover a few key marketing concepts on the off chance that maybe somebody hasn't read all of the assignments or done all of the readings in the online thing. I want to make sure I've at least exposed you to some of the key marketing concepts. So the first very powerful concept is called positioning. Now this was based on an excellent book called Positioning: The Battle for Your Mind. I urge you to get it. You can buy it used on Amazon for maybe 10 euros or something like that. It's short, it's very easy to read, but it's a very powerful concept. Basically, the problem is it's very hard to get somebody's attention. And so if you want your marketing message to get through to somebody, you have to make it easy for them to understand and remember what the heck you are. So if you're trying to explain something that's complicated, they won't remember it. And if they don't get it, they won't buy it. So the way positioning works is you say, I'm like something, you find an existing concept in the mind of the customer, and you say, I'm like that thing that you already know, but then I'm a little different. I'm positioned a little different from it. So a classic example would be Tylenol. And what they said was, we're like aspirin, but we don't hurt your stomach. Or Advil. We're like aspirin, but we offer relief of different types of pain. And so the reason why this is so powerful is if you just said, well, we're a type of painkiller and we do this, this, and the other thing, people might get confused. They might think, is it legal? Do I need a prescription? Do I have to go to the doctor? Do I buy it over the counter? Does it come in a pill? Do I drink it? Like, they might have lots of things. And if you give them the ability to be confused, they'll forget who you are. But if you find something that's already in there, everybody knows what aspirin is, and you say, we're like aspirin, but we're different in this way, then they can remember you. So it's always more powerful to say, we're like Google, but we're different in a way. Or we're like Windows, but we're free. Or we're like iPhones, but we don't lock you into a proprietary system. Or something like that. We're like having your own filing cabinet, except that it exists in the cloud. Things like that. Okay, second major thing. Who is the customer? Now, I know this sounds trivially easy, but people get this wrong all the time. They don't really understand the concept of segmentation, and this is much harder than you think. That people say, well, who are you selling to? Well, I'm selling to women. That's just too big of a segment. You can't sell to women. It has to provide a guide to action. So if you say I'm selling to women, I'm going to say, okay, there's a phone. Who are you going to call first? Are you just going to go through the phone book and call everybody, to start the first woman that starts with an A and start calling people? You have to be able to segment who your customer is. And so a weak way, a bad way of segmenting customers is by demographics. So that's saying, oh, we're going to sell to 25-year-old women. Well, that's kind of insulting. It kind of says that all 25-year-old women are identical. And all 25-year-old women are not identical. Some care about different foods. Some just want to go out and party. Some are very serious professionals. Some want to be mothers. Some don't want to be mothers. Some live in different parts of the world. Some care about certain social benefits. Others might be more conservative. They vote for different things. 25-year-old women can be very different from each other. Very often, 25-year-old women are more different from each other than they are from other people. So some 25-year-old women may be more similar to some 50-year-old men than they are to other 25-year-old women. So that's usually a lousy way to segment. A psychographic method would be a far better way. So you want to segment people in a way that it provides a guide to action. Because ultimately, the only reason for doing marketing is to know what you're going to do. And so it has to be able to let you find out where these people are, how to contact them, how to communicate with them. Another concept is there's different types of influencers over the buying process. Some people might be a buyer, other people might be a decision influencer. So for example, even though Dad might buy the car, Mom will have a strong influence over which car gets purchased. You also have a big difference between buyers and users. And we also have things called two-sided markets. A two-sided market, for example, is like Google has a two-sided market. They have viewers who come to their website and use their tool, but they have advertisers who spend money on advertising. And so they have two different types of customers. One are the users or the viewers, and the other one are the people that give them cash to pay for advertisement or to pay for search terms. So you can segment customers in a variety of ways. You can segment them by how much they buy, how often they buy, overall how much money they spend, how profitable they are. There's a large variety of ways in which you can differentiate between types of customers. You can differentiate them by where they hang out, which trade shows they go to, what they read, which websites they come to you from, which search terms they use, or other things that they care about. Boy, I hope you've gotten this concept by now in the course, the 4 Ps of marketing. Product, there's the actual product, there's the core product, and there's the augmented product. So, for example, a Porsche. The actual Porsche is a certain car, it's a certain size, it's a certain color, it has certain features, it has a certain speed, horsepower, and things like that. But the core product is really transportation, the ability to get from A to B. And you have to understand the nature of that core product, not just the actual product, as well as the augmented product. So the augmented product for Porsche might be, hey, look at me, I've got a Porsche. This is a status symbol. The fact that I own a Porsche says something about who I am as a person. And when somebody hears that I own a Porsche, that's probably worth an extra $50,000 because, hey, look at me, I've got a Ferrari or a Porsche or a BMW or something like that. That's very different than saying, hey, look at how sexy I am, I've got a Chevy. It just doesn't have the same appeal. Price. There's a wide variety of different prices to look at, and I think I'm going to cover that in a second. Promotion and place. So there's these 4 Ps that you need to know about marketing. So there's a product awareness chain that people don't just come and buy something. There's a whole chain from awareness that they need it, search for a solution, agree to buy, arrange a contract, referring to other people. And so very often you need to go through and understand the process by which people become aware of, purchase, consume, and dispose of your product. I want to make sure you've been exposed to this concept. And then you can differentiate from other people at each point. So for each element of the chain in the last figure, you can either delight or infuriate your clients. You can make it really easy to buy something, or you can make it very hard to buy something. You can make it very easy to get financing or very hard to get financing. You can make it very easy to throw the product away, or you can make it a real pain to throw something away. And so the whole overall customer experience is this whole chain, and you can differentiate how you market, how you reach out to people, and how the product is different from other people at each element of the chain. So again, I want to get you beyond thinking of the product as a stationary thing and get you to think of the product and service as an entire user customer experience and how you're different from other people at each element of that chain. Price elasticity of demand. What this refers to, this is a basic microeconomic theory about supply and demand, that as price goes up, does the demand for your product also go up, or does it go down? In essence, how do you know what the right price is to charge? If you increase your price a little bit, will your overall profits go up, or will your profits go down? So some things are very inelastic, like gasoline is very inelastic. They can increase the price of gas as much as they want, and basically people are stuck buying gas no matter what the price is. Cigarettes, price is very inelastic. You can increase the price, and every time you increase the price, people just pay it. Some products are very inelastic, meaning that if you charge too much for a hamburger at McDonald's, people will go to Burger King or Wendy's or 1,000 other hamburger places. And so sometimes you can increase your price and increase your profitability. Sometimes if you increase price, your profitability goes down because people don't want to buy your product anymore. So the basic question is, how do you know that your price is the right price? And you have to experiment with it. You have to do some experiments to figure out whether your profit goes up or down when you change your price. So in some cases, a low price makes it seem like low quality, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes a high price might actually increase demand, like it gives you a belief in exclusivity or luxury or something like that. You can also have a range of price points. This is something that Starbucks does a great job on. When you go into a Starbucks store, they don't just say, here's the price of a cup of coffee. What they say is, we would love to take as much money from you as you would like to give us. If you want to give us 12 euros instead of 5 euros, we would be happy to provide a bigger cup, or with the squeeze of this, or with an extra dose of that, or with a certain fancy word that we can attach to it. And so they have a range of prices that enable you to spend more money than maybe I would spend because I just go in and want a cup of coffee. There's a wide array of different types of promotional marketing materials and collateral. What this does is this helps make intangible things more tangible. That you can tell people, I have a great service, but what people want is they want something that they can see or touch. And so websites, brochures, sales presentations, media kits, business cards, big thick documents that you can hand people, makes them feel better about your product or service to help take the intangible aspects of your product or service and make them more tangible. This is a reason why, for example, when you go to a place that cuts hair, like that's an intangible service. You can't sample your haircut until after the product is delivered. You can't get a haircut and then say, no, I don't want that haircut. I want my old hair back. So the way that they make the intangible service of cutting a hair tangible is they have photographs all over the studio that say, if you get a haircut here, you're going to look beautiful like these people on the wall. Distribution channels. We all like to sell things through other people, but don't expect them to do the hard work for you. Your distribution channel partners are probably lazy, they probably don't care about you, and don't expect them to do the hard work of selling your product. You and your product have to provide your channel partner a benefit, and you need to help pull the product through the distribution channel. So that if, for example, E&C puts your clothing line on their shelves, you still need to advertise your brand so that people come into the E&C store and say, hey, I want that particular brand instead of that other brand. So you still need to do your hard work associated with getting people to come into the store and pull it through those distribution channels. I also wanted to make sure I introduced you to the concept of crossing the chasm. This is an incredibly powerful methodology for getting from early users of your product or service to the mainstream users of your product or service. It's a great book called Crossing the Chasm, written by Geoffrey Moore. Again, you can buy this book on Amazon for probably under 10 euros, and there's thousands of things on the internet that you can look at to understand what this concept is about. But in 10 seconds or less, the way in which an early stage company sells to innovators is different than the way it sells to early adopters, which is different than the way it sells to the early majority or the late majority. And unfortunately, it's not easy to get from the way that you sell to these first two segments, the green and the yellow people, the innovators, the early adopters. The way that you sell to them is very different than the way that you sell to people in the mainstream. And so often what happens is you get a certain level of success and then you can't get any more. You don't make a good profit on those early adopters, and selling to them doesn't make your company successful. You have to somehow cross this chasm and get into the mainstream. And I want to make sure you were exposed to this concept, and you should do your own research if you want to learn more about that.